It's now been 100 hours since the war began, and the escalation is showing no signs of slowing down. Missiles, airstrikes, and even naval warfare, with neither side willing to back down. What started in the Middle East is now touching our wider neighborhood in the Indian Ocean. We have breaking news developments coming in and a packed show through this broadcast with some of the most credible voices. And as Times Now is keeping you ahead as we are tracking all the developments in the war coverage, I'm Sagarika Mitra. Let's get started with the top story that we're tracking this hour. Like we're telling you, viewers, it's day 6 of the war in the Middle East, and unfortunately, the flames of the war have reached India's doorstep. The spotlight is on the Iranian warship, which was invited by India for a joint naval exercise and then was struck down by America off the coast of Sri Lanka on its way back. The big question here is Donald Trump trying to drag India into the war? At least 87 people have been reportedly killed, and a search is still on for the others who are still missing. In fact, the Eastern Naval Command also put out a post a few days back where it said that Indian Navy is welcoming the Iranian Navy on her arrival at Visakhapatnam. And today, on her journey back to Iran, America's torpedoes sent her to silent death. And this happened yesterday. This was also confirmed by U.S. Secretary of War. Let's listen in.
An American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win. Also, yesterday, the leader of the unit who attempted to assassinate President Trump has been hunted down and killed. Iran tried to kill President Trump, and President Trump got the last laugh.
And viewers, joining me on this broadcast is Captain Akhilesh Saxena, and I want him to describe to our viewers that footage that was released by the United States. What does this mean? Because Captain Saxena, the sinking of this Iris Dana by a submarine is described as one of the most rarest moments in history. Can you describe to us what can we understand from this footage that was later released by the United States?
Okay, all right. So if you see why this particular activity took place, you know why? Because Iran started attacking the US assets in different countries, right? And then US has to retaliate as find way. Normally you find if the war is concentrated in an area, and this ship, this was not actually participating in the war as of now. This was just doing a joint naval exercise in India at Visakhapatnam and was just returning back. But now as the war escalates, everything becomes a target. Enemy assets become a target. So US submarine, which was anyway knew that these ships will be coming back, it was deployed in Sri Lankan water.
From your expertise, sir, just explain to us how should one make of this particular footage? Here we can definitely understand that the target has been locked in and the ship has been destroyed. What could have happened here? How did US do what it did?
Okay, so they've got a submarine which is mostly patrolling in this Sri Lankan water, and there is a US based in Diego Garcia. So this is generally stay in that area. And normal these submarine goes, so it's not a very suspicious activities also that submarine. Now this submarine, they have also logged into the location of the ship as it started from Indian water, from Visakhapatnam. And as it entered the Sri Lankan water and moving to international water, they have gone inside. And obviously, as you, my viewers should be knowing that all these submarines, they start the torpedoes, right? Torpedo is something which you go inside and hit the surface of the ship. It was a massive strike. If you really see, you know, these water going up and all, it shows you the intensity of this torpedo which was used, right? It's a very massive, and once the ship is hit, there are no chances if it is hit in the bottom and at the right place. So you, with this intensity, you can see, and that's why the entire ship was damaged. Sri Lankan got the rescue call, and they are supposed to do the rescue. So that's why I think some 87 sailors. There were total 180 personals on that ship, which is actually a frigate, which was coming from the exercise. Out of that, around 87 has been saved, but otherwise ship has been totally destroyed, and you can see this.
Yes.
You know, it is going up to very high, which is the moment torpedo hit, you will see this kind of impact. And this impact shows that the hit is not only successful, it is bang on the center. And the entire ship is totally destroyed.
Right. Once again, once we just look at these visuals, viewers, because this showed how the ship was destroyed by the US submarine. You were talking about the impact, and yes, this gives us a sense when the target is locked and then we see the impact. What is the larger implication? Because yes, there is also talk of how maybe India now, there is an attempt to drag India into this conflict because this happened in our neighborhood.
Yeah. So I will not go up to that extent that India is going to drag into this thing, because if you really see our policy, we have got maintained good relation with Israel. Israel is a very close friend. And then Iran also, we had a good relation, right? So India, I think, is going to anyway, going to do the role of a peacemaker, because in a new geopolitical scenario, India has emerged as a very, very important and influential superpower, where, you know, it can influence both the country and bring them onto the table. So I don't think India is going to get involved into this, but it's a matter of concern for us, because this incident, this has happened just in our background.
Yes, it's in our backyard.
Yeah, and more so because this ship was just going from India, taking part in a Indian kind of naval exercise. So it's a kind of concern that we cannot be totally isolated from the geopolitical. But my personal assessment, India is going to stay away from the direct involvement as a war as of now.
Yes, and so far we've remained neutral, but we've also maintained that we are always on the side of peace. Captain Saxena, I want you to stay with us. Viewers, as we show you these pictures and decode the implications of this war, let's also bring in Lieutenant General KJS Dhillon, who's joining us on this broadcast. Lieutenant General Dhillon, thank you so much. As we describe these pictures that are coming in, and as Captain Akhilesh is also with us, there's another question that one has, you know, that everybody is asking. America says we can fight wars forever. We have that kind of weaponry with us. Iran is using a strategy which many are describing as a cheap strategy or a cheap weaponry strategy, where is there an attempt by Iran to outfox America, to exhaust the enemy by using, say, drones like Shahid initially and then bring out the larger missiles?
Good morning, Saidka, and good morning to Captain Saxena and all your viewers. Firstly, the point which you made, America is saying that we can fight a war forever. Even General Niazi was saying this one day before the surrender in 1971, but I'm not making a comparison. What I'm saying, when you are in war, nobody will say that we can't fight this war. So it's okay for America to say we'll fight this war for as long as it takes. But one thing is very clear, country of the size of Iran, country of the terrain of Iran, and country which has been ruled by a particular dispensation for last 47 years, who have their network, who have their hierarchy, who have their infrastructure, who have their layered leadership, and who has had no armed sort of a rebellion or armed sort of opposition allowed to be there. Now, to country of this nature cannot be won without the boots on ground. The regime change cannot happen without the boots on ground. You can keep decapitating the top leadership one by one, but then another leader will emerge. They have this in the Iranian constitution, and they will do it on ground. Unless the boots on ground, regime change effectively cannot be ensured. And having boots on ground in a country like Iran, with that type of a history and that type of a rule for last half a century, I don't see it. Yes, I can visualize this going into a civil war, a prolonged civil war, but not with the rule of American liking. And if at all they even place someone of their liking, they will only be ruling the cities and some air bases, as was happening in Afghanistan. I don't see the countryside being ruled by a outside power without having to put boots on ground, and no one has stamina and the stomach to put boots on Iranian soil as of today. I would like to just put one more point before I finish, as Captain Saxena was explaining the downing or the sinking of the Iranian naval ship off the coast of Sri Lanka, for the benefit of your viewers or for the information of your viewers, I will explain in a very, very layperson's language. There is something called the territorial waters. Territorial waters is if you take a line from your sea coast, 12 nautical miles, which is equivalent to 22.2 kilometers. Now that water all along your coast is your territorial water. That means your law will run in that water. And nobody can come and do anything without your consent. But freedom of navigation is there even in those waters, that is territorial water, by anyone outside. Then there is an exclusive economic zone, EEZ or EEZ, which runs 200 miles further and away from your coast. It is equivalent to about 370 kilometers. These distances are important. 370 kilometers, where the nation, the nation where from whose coast this 200 nautical miles or 370 kilometers is there, has the special rights to explore, exploit, conserve and manage natural resources within that region. That includes fishing, that includes oil exploration, that includes gas drilling, that includes wind energy on the water surface, under the water surface, on the seabed and under the seabed. All are part of the exploitation of exclusive economic activities. But here also, the navigation freedom is there for anyone to come in and go. And this is not territorial water, this is only for economic purposes. And now just to give you the distances where this ship was sink. This ship was sink 40 miles off the coast of Sri Lanka, southern coast of Sri Lanka from Gale. And it was about 230 miles, nautical miles from Kanyakumari. So it is even beyond our exclusive economic zone. And just one more point, when two land masses are closer to each other and the intersect distance is not 200 nautical miles, then the EEZ gets divided equally between the two land masses. So this ship has sunk much beyond our EEZ and our territorial waters. It has sunk before the away from territorial water of Sri Lanka. In technical terms, Captain Saxena will agree with me. In technical terms, it is international waters. It is high seas. And with the UNCLOS, which he was referring to, UNCLOS, United Nations Convention for Law on Sea. And in any case, I think America is not a signatory to it. They are at liberty to take any action against an enemy warship in international waters without referring to the nearest country, which was Sri Lanka in this case. I thought I will just amplify this before people, emotions and sentiments have no place during wars. So this is just an explanation, and Captain Saxena can correct me if there is some other point he wants to say.
Yes, and Captain Saxena, like Lieutenant General Dillon said, and it's always a pleasure to have him here on the broadcast. This strike happened about 40 nautical miles off Galle, and in naval warfare. And in that perspective, how difficult is it to detect and defend against a modern submarine torpedo attack? You showed us what it meant, the impact, but when this is happening when it comes to naval warfare, how difficult is it to detect this kind of a submarine attack?
Yeah, it's very difficult because one, they were not actually suspecting that they could be under attack. So that's one thing, that element of surprise was there. Though Iran is at war, but from their normal convention, they will think till the time a ship which is returning from exercise, till the time it join a war. But I think these are the few things which are not being followed in the war, right? Everything is fair in war. And you are seeing what Iran is doing. So obviously, US is also going all the time. Second thing, the submarine capacity of US, right, which is very, very high. They have got the capacity to stay underwater for many days. They have also got, anti-detection pattern which is available with them, which is not easier to detect. And actually in that water, Iranian ship was also not kind of doing the active surveillance and the observation part. So it was totally undetected and it came a surprise for them, right? So very difficult in this kind of scenario when you are not in an active war zone, but in a neutral international water or in someone else territory, economic zone territory. It's very, very difficult to get it detected. So actually they have got an element of surprise with them, plus their capability in terms of being hidden and not being detected by any other thing is also helped them in making this attack possible.
All right, gentlemen, I want both of you to stay with us. Now let's shift our focus to another footage that has been released, this time by the United States. And like we've been saying, in modern wars, it's all about information warfare. Each side is putting out videos to claim dominance. This is the latest footage released by CENTCOM, and in this footage, US is talking about how it executed 100 hours of America's epic fury. This is the latest footage released. Let's take a look.
The United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury,
the most lethal, most complex, and most precise aerial operation in history.
Our military in the Middle East is undertaking an unprecedented operation to eliminate Iran's ability to threaten Americans, as they've been doing for nearly half a century. We are also sinking the Iranian Navy, the entire Navy.
We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it.
Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. The United States...
And this is the latest footage released by the United States, where they've detailed Operation Epic Fury, and they've featured their most lethal weapons that they have used in the last 100 hours. And like Donald Trump says, we can fight wars forever, but what is the reality? More breaking news coming in. Another piece of footage has been released by the United States, and in this, it is fresh visuals of the strike on Iran, where CENTCOM has put out this visual of the United States hunting Iran's missile launchers. Take a look at this footage released. Another piece of footage released by the United States, where US is targeting mobile missile systems and missile threats that have been, they claim that they are destroying Iran's missile threats with precision. Here, US is highlighting its strike capabilities. Let me once again, as we keep these visuals on air, let me go back to Lieutenant General Dhillon. The war, sir, is spreading across multiple domains: airstrikes, missiles, naval engagement. But do you see a clear strategy and end game from the United States? Yes, they are claiming that they have, completely demolished Iran's weapon system. But how true do you think that claim is?
Saika, before I answer your question specifically related to United States and this particular operation, I will give you how the military aims and political aims are derived and military operations are launched. End state is very important in any operation. That is, what is the end state which you want to achieve? That is when we say we have achieved victory. And if it's an overseas conflict, which is this one is, then the exit strategy is also part of the end state. That means after having finished the war on our rules or our conditions, terms, how do we exit from that particular operational area? That exit strategy is also part of the end state. Now, how the end state is achieved? First and foremost is the political aim. The political aim is the government of the day or the political people who are in the office. They give out, this is the political aim of the nation. From the political aim is driven the military aim. From that military aim comes out the military strategy. And then from that military strategy comes out how the military operations will be conducted. And these military operations will continue till the end state is achieved and exit strategy is implemented. Now here, like I explained, everything starts from the political aim. Now, what happened to political aim in this particular scenario? It all started in May last year by taking out the nukes of Iran. Then when the war started, it was regime change. Suddenly from regime change, the political aim changed to nuclear, denuclearization of Iran. And from denuclearization of Iran, it came to destruction of Iran's military and naval capabilities. Now, if the political aims are changing so fast in 100 hours, how do you expect the military strategy, military aim, and military operations to catch up with this type of frequent changes? So end state and exit strategy are not even talked about as it. Now, this type of a situation is not the way wars are fought.
Right.
Militaries cannot, intentions can change overnight. Capabilities take decades to build. And military resources take weeks or months to locate and relocate. And if you are fluctuating in a political aim so frequently, the relocation of military assets does not happen with this pace.
And so, allow me to just come in and I apologize for interjecting, but there is often a term used by military planners. The term is magazine depth. The side that runs out of missiles and ammunition first will lose in this conflict. And yes, the question that arises today is, which side will have the deeper magazine? If we look at the way the strategies are playing out. Only for the want of time, gentlemen, I have to thank both of you. It's time now for us to take a short commercial break, but we'll keep you up to speed with all the latest developments as we track the war in West Asia.